Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Ascendant, or Ascendant, for the last 2 weeks of January. I hope you are well. Hope you enjoyed Christmas, if you celebrated. And if not, well then, if your birthday falls before the end of the month, happy birthday to you for that too. Right. I think I've been doing this long enough now that I don't need to go through the spiel of what we're doing in these mid-month readings, so I'm going to get straight on with it. Could I have 3 cards, please, for Aquarius's current energy? Oh, there's 2 out together. There we have the Hierophant and we have the 8 of Pentacles. We have the 7 of Pentacles in reverse. Oh, I like that. Let's get one more, because those 2 first ones came out together. We have the Queen of Cups, Cancer energy, and the Page of Wands. So it looks like the energy of Capricorn is getting at you as well here. We don't actually have any Capricorn cards on the table, but there's quite a lot of Earth energy here, and I'm seeing it a lot. I'm a Capricorn ascendant as well, so like suddenly my productivity has gone through the roof. But it seems like it's doing the same for you here. Now, interestingly, we've got this Hierophant and the 8 of Pentacles here. Now, the Hierophant is Taurus energy, and it really does speak to tradition. It speaks to what is established, right? And we've got this 8 of Pentacles here that suggests to me that you have been working very hard on something, right? And whether that is a relatively recent thing, or you've been working on it for the last 6 months, year, 2 years, it doesn't even really matter. What matters is that it is in your consciousness at the moment that you have worked very hard to establish something which is now, set, right? It's almost like you don't have to put in as much effort now to it as you have done previously, because you put the work in before. But dear Aquarians, I think that there has been a shift in you. It feels like there's a tide that has turned with you in some way or another, because the very next card is this 7 of Pentacles. Now, obviously, it's the card that precedes the 8 of Pentacles, so it's coming out in reverse order, but it's also coming out reversed. Now, that way around, this card talks about, and it's interesting, Taurus had exactly the same card. It talks about having a situation that in some way isn't quite right? It's not full on fucked, for example. It's not terrible and awful, but there is something about the situation that you find yourself in, and I would feel it's whatever you have put time and care and effort into building for yourself. So it could well be work, but it could well be your family situation. Not so much your family situations. No, I mean, we're talking about your wants and needs, the way that you support yourself. So it could be friends, could be friendship groups and stuff like that. It could be something to do with your housing. It could be something to do with your work, right? It's very pentacle heavy, this reading, very pentacle focused. But it's looking at that and going, right, I put loads and loads of effort into it, as I have. It's up and it's running and it's doing its thing. But is it becoming now a little bit inflexible? Is it becoming a little bit rigid? Because there's something about the situation that is making me feel like it could be better. Now, if it had come up in the upright like this, I would have said that it's possible that you don't really know what it is in your life that isn't quite meeting the standard that you hoped for yourself. It's kind of like a same shit, different day kind of feeling, but like not quite as negative as that, more just like a kind of underlying malaise where there's just something's got to change and you're not quite sure what it is, haven't isolated it yet, except that this came up in the reverse for you, which suggests, just as it did for Taurus, that you have finally pinpointed what it is that could be better in your existence, whatever it is. Now, like I said, it's very pentacle heavy, so I mean it's very much based around your needs and your wants, whatever it is that brings comfort into your life, whether that is the way that you make money or the way that you choose to spend your time with other people. But having identified what it is that isn't quite right, not wrong, but just not quite right, it seems to me now that you are looking at ways to shift that and make it more emotionally fulfilling for you. You know, maybe you spent the last 3 or 4 years building up a business for yourself, and it's strong. It's a good business, like it's doing well. And maybe you've just noticed that for the last year you've been turning up and doing exactly the same thing day after day, and possibly doing it to the exclusion of things that you might prefer to do instead. You know, a Queen of Cups is a highly emotional card. It's interesting that it's come up here for you, but I don't mean anything negative by that, but you know, just you're an air sign. There are no swords here in your current energy at all. What we've got are Pentacles and Cups. So it could be that your work-life balance is somewhat out of whack, but it could be that you're now starting to turn your eye to the horizon and go, okay, right, I've done this. It's set up. It's doing its thing. I need something else. You know, emotionally, I'm feeling a little bit stuck here, and I want to receive something new, because the Queen of Cups is all about receiving, right? And this says to me that you are starting to work out what it is that needs to change, what new things need to be brought in, and possibly old things released. Because we do have this Page of Wands here, shadow card at the bottom of the deck. What have we got behind it? Oh, we've got the King of Cups behind it, and the Magician, which is, it's a card that's associated with Gemini for me, right? I think that there's nothing more magician-like than abracadabra, right? I create as I speak, and that's a very Gemini thing to do. It's like speak things into existence. So it's like your sister air sign there. Some people say it's Virgo, but I don't feel that quite so much. But in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a catch-all, right? It's saying that you have tools, you have skills, you have everything that you need to do what it is that you want. But it's perhaps not quite at a point where you can bring it in for yourself yet, because there's something quite subtle going on here, with it being the Queen of Cups that's landed on the table rather than the King who is hiding behind the Page of Wands here. The nuance is that there's something that needs to be released to create the space for something to come in. And maybe you've been stuck in a Seven of Pentacles upright for a while because you couldn't quite work out what it was that you could let go of to create the space for the new thing coming in. And it's still a little bit amorphous. It's still a little bit vague. But it's coming. Because we've got this Page of Wands here, and there's an excitement about what could be done, but it's very much at the bottom, you know, level of the hierarchy here. It's not actually action being taken. It's about the excitement, about the action that you are about to take. And the fact that the King of Cups sits directly behind it there, it feels to me like you can feel that there's a shift coming up for you, Aquarius. You know, I want to say that the King and the Queen are the epitome of the suit, you know, the culmination of the suit. Between the two of them together, you have the masculine and the feminine, the passive and the active. But there's a shift here from one to the other. And it feels like you know that there's something quite novel coming up for you very soon. Like a kind of graduation of sorts, to be honest, is what I'm feeling. It's almost like maybe what you have been doing is setting the scene. And once you can actually start formulating a plan of how you move forward, so what it is that you are going to actively do about the situation, this is where you hit this King of Cups and Magician point here. But it's still very much unformed at this point. I think that's the best way to put it. Usually when you have that kind of feeling underneath a reading, it's because the timing isn't quite there yet. You know, there's a little bit more that has to play out before you can start getting excited about the actions that you're going to take. I mean, maybe it's a case of sitting down and really planning what actions you want to take. You know, maybe that's the point where this kicks in. Let's have a look and see what the lesson is here. Right. Let's have a look. What's going on here with Aquarius? We have Temperance. We've got something else. Let's see what it is. One more. Whoa. Okay. So we have the Temperance card. It came out kind of sideways, to be honest. We have the Four of Cups in reverse, and we have the King of Cups with the Strength card at the bottom of the deck. Here's the fire for you. Now, this is your opposite sign in the zodiac. This is the Leo card, right? And Leo comes from the heart. It's all about ruling the heart. And so there's action because it's a fire sign, but there's also, you know, a heart over head kind of thing going on here. Now, why I was cackling is because we have that Temperance card that came out, then the Four of Cups, and then the King of Cups made his appearance here. Again, 2. Obviously, really, really wanted to be in this reading. And like I just said there, that Temperance card came out kind of at an angle. It came out like that. The Temperance card is all about healing, right? It's all about a state of recovery, but it is an alchemical process as well. Sometimes of taking pain and turning it into something that's very useful. Or, as feels to be the case here for you, it's about taking what is something kind of emotional in you that it feels like you've been kind of prodding with a stick and going, what are you inside me? What is this feeling that I have here, right? Because it's something and I don't know what it is. It's about taking that and getting it to a point where you do understand it. Like, I think it's one of those tropes that you know, Aquarius isn't a very emotional sign. Like, you usually sit at the bottom of all the memes when it says, you know, most to least emotional. But that isn't true. It's just that you process information in a different way, and you interact with people in a different way. And I don't know if some of you have internalized this idea that you are not emotional, you know, and we do know that you prize logic and rationality and reasonableness, you know. If you've internalized this idea that you don't have emotions, or that, you know, you're not an emotional person, then it could well be that as an emotion arises, it does feel kind of alien to you. You're not really quite sure what to do with it. You know, emotions are messy and illogical, and they don't really make a lot of sense sometimes. But it's almost like a rising intuition that's sort of knocking on you, get hello, pay attention to me, please. Because there is a use for your emotions, and whatever comes next really needs you to have a handle on how you feel about things rather than what you think about things. Because, I don't know, maybe it's that you've tapped out a little bit. You know, you've hit the top of what you were doing, and we see that Hierophant card and that 8 of Pentacles. You know, you are really very good at what you do, whatever it is that you have built here. But it's lacking something now. It's not fulfilling you in the way that it did before. And it's your emotions that are telling you that. So we've got this Temperance card, which is alchemical, you know, from fire to water, but we've got this crow pouring water from one cup into another, right? It's about the act of temperance, moderation, balance, like finding your spot in between the two of, you know, the illogical and the messy and the frankly slightly confusing emotional stuff over here, and the logical and intellectual and reason and rational things over here, which can sometimes make you feel a little cold to other people, right? It's about getting the pendulum to stop straight in the middle and go, actually, I can bring in both for my highest good. You know, whatever I want to do moving forwards actually is going to require both of these things. And we've got this 4 of Cups in reverse here. Now, that's gratitude for me. Four of Cups in reverse is the act of gratitude. It's the act of not taking anything for granted. And it's the act of accessing, I feel, for you, a path to emotions, a path to the utilization of emotions, actually. Because emotional states are one of those things where, yeah, they are messy and they are illogical and they don't make a lot of sense initially. But when you spend a bit of time with them and you start seeing them in other people and you can kind of work out where they've come from, it actually becomes a lot more predictable than you think it would be. And there's growth here in you. Now, the growth is not coming by way of what you are creating. It's not coming by way of the process that you have utilized to become very good at what you do and to provide for yourself very well in the way that you do. It's the other side of you that perhaps has been a little bit neglected at times, because this final card is the King of Cups, and he really wanted to be seen, right? He's come out again here. What we've got there is a balance between the masculine and the feminine. It's Cancer and Scorpio energy respectively. But coming out together, they indicate a mastery of emotions, which means not dismissing them as messy or illogical or confusing or anything like that, or, you know, something that frankly you could find something better to do with your time than decode. Rather it is, no, this is something that I can use moving forward. Huh. It's interesting because you've got the Two of Cups directly behind the Strength card here. Oh, gone all dark. Here we go. Which suggests that your one-to-one relationships are really quite important at this time, and this is where the energy needs to be put in, you know, perhaps with a significant other, but maybe, you know, with you know, close friends or family, whatever it is, because we've got the Devil sat behind there. Now, it could be that you need to pull away from some relationships that feel a little bit, you know, restrictive at this time, and that would certainly be, you know, the Venus retrograde in Capricorn as we've got going on as I'm recording this, and I think it's there until like, I don't know, 29th of January or something like that. But Venus retrograding asks us to look at our day-to-day relationships and make them work better than they are doing, you know. And maybe it is that you've realized that some of your emotional relationships were neglected during the time that you were building your empire, whatever it is, you know. But we come back to the growth. There's huge growth here for you, Aquarius, if you allow it to happen. And try not to intellectualize it too much. Just let it happen, because that's how you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you know. Maybe be content with the fact that you don't have all the answers, and sometimes it isn't necessary to have all the answers before you take a step, you know. Let's get some advice, please, for Aquarius. We have the King of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles. We have the Four of Pentacles. Fucking hell, we've got a whole heap of things coming out together. We've got the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here, which is interesting. Yeah, like, fuck me, Aquarius. It's like you're having some like birthday ascension or something. It feels like there's an awful lot of things that are going to be sort of really dropping into place for you soon. Like things that perhaps have been a bit messy and confusing that you haven't really understood. Look like you're going to get the clarity on there, but it's not because other people are going to volunteer that clarity to you. They're not going to explain themselves. They're not going to put things in a way that you can understand. More, it is your understanding that is being tweaked here. It is changing the way that you think that is making the difference. Possibly not, you know, coming to an understanding that your way isn't necessarily the right way for everyone, and that's cool. But then being open to seeing the other way that other people do it, and seeing the value in that too, you know. So I wanted 3 cards, I've ended up with 6. And we started off here in advice with the King of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles. And I think that this is quite clear, right? Like, because you have, in a lot of ways, been a King of Pentacles. We've seen that right at the beginning. This is a Taurus card. So is the Hierophant, right? Now, you know, might be you have a Taurus in your midst, something like that. You know, a Taurus significant other who has helped you build, you know, what was your vision. But this is quite interesting, because the King of Pentacles isn't that active, right? He's done all of his work, and often the King of Pentacles is kind of about sort of sitting back and looking at what you have built, knowing that you put in all of the effort, you took no shortcuts, you've created something, right? It's all about empire building. Right, certainly Taurus and Capricorn are all about empire building, right? But once they get there, there's a certain maintenance level of stuff that needs to, you know, keep happening to have it ticking along at the same level that it's you know, reached. But sometimes, in order to do things differently, in order to expand further, in order to bring more towards you that is fulfilling for you, you need to allow yourself to be a beginner. You need to permit yourself to start something new and say, it's okay that I don't know everything about this. Right? It's a peculiar thing that adults have. We become slightly allergic to the idea of being a beginner. I see it in the gym all the time, of people getting super frustrated because they can't pull off like a, you know, 720 tornado kick on their 4th lesson. And it's like, you know, nobody can do that on their 4th lesson. Nobody can do that on their 400th lesson, probably. You know, it's something that takes time and care and effort to build the skill set that you need to do that. So it's a card of student. You know, between this and the Page of Swords, they're both cards of studenthood, starting at the bottom and moving up. Now, you had the Page of Wands there. Yeah, this could actually speak to restructuring what it is that you've built. I could see that being the case here, rather than going back to square one, right, and starting as a beginner for something else. It's kind of like looking at what you've built and gone, right, how can I restructure this, right? I might need to possibly learn how to do a few, you know, new things, but this is the step that's important. Now, the next card that we've got is the Four of Pentacles. So there's definitely no sense of throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. It's like, maybe it's time to take quite a critical look at everything that you've built. Now that you are taking into account the more emotional side of things, right? The fact that you do need things that are emotionally fulfilling, and what is at the moment isn't giving you that. And holding on to what is important, but being prepared to release those things that need to go in order for you to restructure in the way that you want to. Now, look at these cards here, man. We've got the Five of Swords in reverse, we've got the Wheel of Fortune, and we've got the Six of Wands. Now, interestingly, the Wheel of Fortune came up for Taurus as well. There's a few repeating cards here. But this Five of Swords is about changing the way that you think about things. It's in the reverse. In the upright, it's being stuck in those kind of cognitive loops where everything is just the fucking same, right? It's unstable because it's 5 here, and that's the agents of chaos. But it's the realization that it is your mind that is causing the restriction, rather than perhaps the behavior of others. We've got the Wheel of Fortune and the Six of Wands here. It feels like opportunities are just going to spring up as if by magic around you as you shift your mindset to the acceptance that there are other ways of doing things, and there are other ways of experiencing things, and actually you're open to them. Yeah, it's sort of, you know, putting up a placard for the universe and saying, yeah, I'm ready now. Here, you know, bring me useful things. And it feels like the universe is going to kind of start putting those in your path. Now, maybe they were already there. It's just that you weren't primed to notice them, and it feels like your priming is changing, because these shadow cards that we've got here at the bottom of the deck are the Fool and the Nine of Pentacles. You've topped out here at the 8. It's time to start doing things differently. Because the Nine of Pentacles gives you the opportunity to enjoy what it is that you have built. And I feel like for some of you that isn't there. With the Fool behind it, you know, there's somewhat taking a leap. It's doing things differently to the way that you have done them before. But it's the first step in a new cycle. Now, you don't want to do the same cycle that you've just done all over again. You don't want to do it in perpetuity, you know, until you shuffle off this mortal coil. There is more out there for you to experience, and it suggests to me that all that's really necessary here is just that small tweak in your mind. And all of these things are just going to start dropping into place for you. Right, I'm going to leave it there, Aquarius. Thank you for your patience over the holiday period while I was trying to pull my shit together. It is very, very much appreciated. Very grateful. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.